Dread horror. Uncover the darkest mysteries that remain unsolved. If you dare, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a terrifying story. The fluorescent lights of the Walmart supercenter buzzed faintly overhead, casting a sterile glow across the sprawling aisles. It was 2:47 a.m., and the store was a ghost town, save for the skeleton crew of night shift workers. Most customers avoided these hours, leaving the place to the hum of machinery, the occasional clatter of a mop bucket, and the eerie stillness that seemed to seep into the walls. For Mia Torres, a 24-year-old cashier who'd taken the job to pay off student loans, the graveyard shift was just another grind, until that night. Mia leaned against the counter at register 12, scrolling through her phone. The store's Wi-Fi was spotty, and the only sound was the faint crackle of the intercom system that hadn't been updated since the 90s. Her coworker, Jamal, a lanky guy with a perpetual smirk, was somewhere in the back restocking shelves. The manager, Mr. Hensley, had disappeared into his office hours ago, probably napping. It was just another dead night, or so she thought. It started with the sound, a low, rhythmic tapping, like fingernails drumming on glass. Mia glanced up, scanning the empty aisles. Nothing. The store stretched out before her, a labyrinth of discount goods and shadowed corners. She chalked it up to the pipes or the AC unit. Old buildings made weird noises. But then it came again, sharper this time, closer. Top, top, top. Her stomach tightened. She grabbed the handheld radio clipped to her belt. "Jamal, you hear that?" She whispered into it. Static hissed back. Then his voice. "Hear what? I'm in aisle 19 with the canned goods." "You good?" "Yeah. Just thought I heard something." "Never mind." She set the radio down, but the tapping didn't stop. It grew louder, more insistent, echoing from the direction of the electronics section. Mia's curiosity outweighed her unease. She grabbed a flashlight from under the counter, standard issue for power outages, and headed toward the sound. The electronics aisle was a mess of flickering TVs and tangled cords. The tapping was deafening now, a staccato rhythm that made her teeth ache. She rounded the corner and froze. At the far end of the aisle stood a shopping cart, empty, motionless. But the tapping was coming from inside it. She edged closer, her flashlight beam trembling as it swept over the metal frame. The sound stopped abruptly, and the silence was worse. Then the cart moved. It didn't roll. It jerked, a single violent lurch toward her. Mia stumbled back, her heart slamming against her ribs. "Jamal!" she shouted, fumbling for the radio. No response, just static. The cart twitched again, and something inside it shifted. A shadow, too small to be human, too solid to be nothing. She turned and ran, her sneakers squeaking on the polished floor. Back at the register, she tried to calm herself. It was a prank, she thought. Jamal messing with her. But when she radioed him again, his voice was tight, urgent. "Mia, get to the break room. Now, something's wrong." She didn't ask questions. The break room was near the back, past the home goods and the looming rows of furniture displays. As she hurried through the store, the lights began to flicker. Not all at once, but in waves, like something was moving through the circuits. Shadows stretched and twisted in her peripheral vision. But when she turned, there was nothing. Just empty aisles and the faint hum of the store. Jamal was waiting in the break room, his face pale under the harsh fluorescent bulb. "You see it too?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "See what? The cart? What the hell is going on?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he pointed to the security monitor on the wall, a grainy feed cycling through the store's cameras. "Look!" Mia leaned in, squinting at the black and white images. The parking lot was empty. The registers were deserted. Then the feed switched to aisle 27, household cleaners. There, in the middle of the frame, stood a figure. It was humanoid but wrong, too tall, too thin, its limbs bent at angles that defied anatomy. His head was tilted, staring directly at the camera. Mia's breath caught. What is that?" "I don't know," Jamal said, but it's been moving closer every time the feed loops. As if on cue, the screen flickered, and the figure was gone. The next frame showed aisle 19, Jamal's aisle. Empty. Then aisle 12, her register. Empty. Then the break room door. Mia spun around, expecting to see it standing there, but the doorway was clear. Her relief was short-lived. The monitor beeped, and the feed cut to the live view of the break room, their break room. The camera was mounted above them, and on the screen, she saw herself and Jamal staring at the monitor. But behind them, in the corner of the room, was the figure. She whipped around. Nothing. The corner was empty, just a vending machine and a stack of chairs. But when she looked back at the screen, it was still there, closer now, its featureless face inches from the back of Jamal's head. "Run!" she choked out. They bolted, tearing through the store toward the front doors. The lights were dying now, plunging entire sections into darkness. The tapping returned, a frenzied chorus echoing from every direction. Mia risked a glance over her shoulder and saw them. Carts, dozens of them, skittering across the floor like spiders, their wheels spinning wildly. And among them, the figure moved, its jerky gait eating up the distance. The doors were locked. Of course they were, it was protocol after midnight. Mia pounded on the glass, screaming for help, but the parking lot was a void. Jamal grabbed her arm, dragging her toward the employee exit in the back. The tapping was deafening now, a cacophony of metal and malice. She could feel it, the thing right behind her, its presence a cold weight on her spine. They burst into the stockroom, a cavernous space of crates and shadows. The emergency exit glowed red in the distance. Jamal reached it first, slamming his shoulder into the bar. It didn't budge. "No, no, no!" he yelled, kicking at it. Mia joined him, throwing her weight against the door. It groaned but held fast. The tapping stopped. The silence was suffocating. She turned slowly, her flashlight beams slicing through the dark. The figure stood at the far end of the stockroom, motionless, its head cocked. Then it moved, not forward, but up, scaling the shelves like an insect, its limbs bending and snapping as it climbed. Mia's scream lodged in her throat. The lights went out. When they flickered back on, the figure was gone. The door clicked open behind them, and they stumbled into the night, collapsing onto the asphalt. The air was cold, sharp, real. Mia sobbed, clutching Jamal's arm as they stared at the store. The lights inside buzzed steadily now, as if nothing had happened. They quit that night. Mr. Hensley didn't believe their story. "Just a couple of kids spooked by the dark," he said. But Mia couldn't shake it. Weeks later, she drove past the Walmart at 3 a.m. just to see. The parking lot was empty, the store silent. Then she saw it. A single cart, rolling slowly across the pavement. No wind, no push, no reason. She didn't stop. She didn't look back. But the next day, a friend sent her a link to a local forum. Someone had posted about that Walmart. A night shift worker who'd vanished years ago, last seen on camera in the stockroom. The thread was full of stories. Carts moving on their own, shadows in the aisles, a tall figure that watched from the corners. And buried in the comments, a grainy photo from an old security tape. It showed a man in a Walmart vest, staring at the camera, his face blank. Behind him, barely visible, was a shape, too tall, too thin, its head tilted. Mia deleted the message. She never went near a Walmart again. But sometimes, late at night, she hears it, tap, 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 and wonders if it's still out there, waiting. The Walmart on Route 17 was a relic, a squat, gray building that hadn't been renovated since the 80s. Its parking lot was cracked and overgrown with weeds, and the neon sign flickered like a dying heartbeat. Most locals avoided it after dark. Rumors swirled about strange noises, lights that moved on their own, and a cashier who disappeared in the 90s, never found. But for Ethan Carter, a 29-year-old truck driver passing through town, it was just a pit stop. He needed coffee, a snack, and a bathroom break. It was 11:58 p.m. on a frigid November night when he pulled into the lot. The store was open 24 hours. He figured he'd be in and out, Inside, the air was stale, thick with the smell of cheap plastic and something faintly sour. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting a sickly yellow glow over the aisles. Ethan adjusted his cap, his boots thudding against the scuffed linoleum as he made his way toward the coffee machines near the deli. The store was eerily quiet. No late-night shoppers, no employees stocking shelves. Just the hum of the lights and the distant whir of a refrigeration unit. He reached the coffee station and grabbed a cup, but as he pressed the dispenser, nothing came out. Just a hollow gurgle. "Great," he muttered, tossing the cup into the trash. That's when he heard it. A faint, rhythmic creaking, like a wheel turning. He turned, scanning the empty store. The sound was coming from the toy aisle, a few rows over. Probably a busted cart, he thought. But curiosity tugged at him and he decided to check it out. The toy aisle was a mess of faded boxes and broken dolls, their plastic eyes glinting in the dim light. At the far end stood an old woman, hunched over a shopping cart. She was dressed in a tattered coat, her gray hair spilling out from a knit cap. The cart creaked as she pushed it, its wheels wobbling unevenly. Ethan relaxed a little, just a late-night shopper. "Ma'am, you okay?" he called, stepping closer. She didn't respond. The creaking stopped, and she stood still, her back to him. Something about her silence prickled the hairs on his neck. "Ma'am?" He tried again, louder. Slowly, she turned. Her face was wrong. Too pale, too smooth, like wax. Her eyes were black voids. No whites, no pupils, just endless dark. Ethan stumbled back, his breath catching. She smiled, a thin, jagged line that stretched too wide, revealing teeth like broken glass. He bolted, his heart hammering as he rounded the corner into housewares. The lights flickered above him, plunging the aisle into brief bursts of darkness. He could hear the creaking again, faster now, chasing him. He risked a glance back. The old woman was gone, but the cart was there, rolling on its own, gaining speed. Its metal frame rattled, and something inside it shifted. A dark, shapeless mass that pulsed like a living thing. Ethan sprinted toward the front, aiming for the exit. The store felt bigger now, the aisles stretching impossibly long. The lights were dying one by one, shadows pooling in their wake. He reached the registers, no one. The self-checkout screens glowed faintly, displaying error messages in garbled text. The creaking was everywhere, echoing from all directions, a relentless pursuit. He slammed into the glass doors. Locked, the automatic sensors didn't budge. Panic clawed at him as he pounded on the glass, the parking lot tauntingly close. His truck sat under a flickering street lamp, a lifeline just out of reach. The creaking stopped. He turned slowly, dread pooling in his gut. The old woman stood at the end of the main aisle, motionless, her cart beside her. The mass inside it writhed, spilling over the edges. Tendrils of shadow that slithered across the floor toward him. Ethan ran again, this time toward the back, searching for an employee exit. The store twisted around him. Aisles rearranged, shelves loomed taller, their contents spilling onto the floor. A child's toy laughed maniacally as he passed, its batteries long dead. He found the stockroom door and burst through, the air inside cold and damp. Crates towered overhead, forming a maze of narrow paths. The emergency exit glowed red in the distance. He lunged for it, slamming the bar. It opened, but not to the outside. Beyond the door was the store again. The same flickering lights, the same endless aisles. Ethan staggered back, his mind reeling. The creaking resumed, closer now, and the old woman appeared at the far end of the stockroom. She didn't walk. She glided, her feet hovering an inch above the floor. The cart rolled beside her, its contents now fully visible. A writhing mass of black tendrils, eyes blinking within it, watching him. He turned and ran deeper into the stockroom, desperation driving him. The air grew colder, the walls slick with something wet. He tripped over a crate, crashing to the floor, and scrambled up just as the lights went out. In the dark, he heard her voice. Low, guttural, not human. "You're late," it rasped, the words slithering into his skull. The lights flared back on, and she was there, inches away, her black eyes boring into him. The tendrils lashed out, wrapping around his legs, pulling him down. He screamed, clawing at the floor, but the shadows dragged him toward the cart. The last thing he saw was her smile, widening, splitting her face in two as the darkness swallowed him. Morning came, gray and bleak. A new shift arrived at the Walmart on Route 17. The night crew reported nothing unusual, just a quiet shift. Ethan's truck sat in the lot, keys still in the ignition, coffee cup untouched on the dash. No one remembered seeing him. The security tapes showed static from midnight to 6 a.m., a 6-hour gap no one could explain. Weeks later, a local kid dared his friend to sneak into the store after hours. They found a cart in the toy aisle, abandoned, its wheels creaking faintly. Inside was a trucker's cap, stained with something dark. The kid swore he heard a voice from the shadows, "You're late." But his friend didn't believe him. They ran, leaving the cap behind. The Walmart still stands, open 24/7. Shoppers come and go, but the old-timers warn you, don't stay too long past midnight. Sometimes, late at night, the cameras catch a glitch, a cart rolling on its own, an old woman in the frame for a split second before the feed cuts out. And if you listen closely, you might hear it. A creak, a whisper, a promise that someone's waiting, just for you. The Walmart off Highway 49 was a hulking beast of concrete and steel, its parking lot a graveyard of abandoned carts and flickering sodium lights. It was the kind of place you didn't linger in, especially not after midnight. Locals whispered about it. The flickering shadows in the windows, the strange hum that wasn't quite the air conditioning, the night janitor who'd walked out one shift and never came back. But for Sarah and Gwyn, a 32-year-old single mom scraping by, the third shift was a lifeline. The pay was decent, and the hours let her be home when her kid woke up. She'd been at it for 6 months, long enough to ignore the rumors. Until that night. It was 1:13 a.m., and the store was dead. Sarah stood at the customer service desk sorting returns, bent cans, torn packaging, a doll with one eye missing. The overhead lights buzzed, a sound she'd tuned out months ago, but tonight it felt sharper, like a drill in her skull. She rubbed her temples, chalking it up to fatigue. Her coworker, Luis, was somewhere in the garden center, probably sneaking a smoke. The only other soul was the night manager, Carla, holed up in her office with the door shut. Just another shift, Sarah told herself. Then the phone rang. Not her cell, the store landline, an ancient beige relic bolted to the desk. She hesitated. No one called this late unless it was corporate, and they never bothered past 10 p.m. The ringing cut through the silence, insistent, shrill. She picked it up. Walmart customer service. How can I help you? Static crackled on the other end. Then a voice, soft, childlike, but wrong, like it was filtered through water. Can you find me? It asked. Sarah's stomach dropped. Who is this? She demanded, but the line went dead. She set the receiver down, her hands trembling. Prank, she thought. Kids messing around. But the store was empty. She'd locked the doors herself at midnight. The lights flickered, just for a second, and she heard it. A giggle, faint and high-pitched, coming from the toy aisle. Sarah grabbed the desk flashlight, her pulse quickening. She wasn't supposed to leave the desk, but something about that voice gnawed at her. She radioed Luis. You hear anything weird out there? Static hissed back. Then his voice, clipped. Just the wind. Stay put, I'll check. She didn't wait. The toy aisle was a chaos of plastic and pastel colors, shelves sagging under the weight of knockoff action figures and board games. The giggle came again, closer, from the end of the row. Sarah swept her flashlight beam across the shelves. Nothing. Then the beam caught something. A small figure, no taller than a toddler, darting between the racks. It was too fast, too blurry, but she saw pale skin, matted hair, and a flash of white. A dress? Hey! She called, her voice shaking. The figure vanished around the corner. She followed, her boots thudding against the floor. The lights flickered again, longer this time, plunging the aisle into darkness before snapping back on. When they did, the aisle was different. The toys were gone, replaced by rows of old, dusty merchandise. VHS tapes, rotary phones, clothes from decades past. Sarah froze. This wasn't her store. She turned to backtrack, but the aisle stretched behind her, endless. The customer service desk nowhere in sight. The giggle echoed again, now from above. She looked up. Crawling across the ceiling was the figure. A girl, maybe 6 years old, her white dress stained and torn, her head twisted backward, black eyes locked on Sarah. Her mouth opened, and the giggle turned into a scream, a sound that clawed at Sarah's ears. She ran, the flashlight bouncing wildly, the store warping around her. Aisles twisted, shelves bent inward, and the air grew thick, humid, like a swamp. She stumbled into the electronics section, TVs flickering to life as she passed. Each screen showed the same image, the girl, closer now, her face pressed against the glass, her scream vibrating through the speakers. Sarah's radio crackled. "Sarah, where are you?" Luis's voice panicked. "Something's here." Before she could answer, the TVs cut to static, and the girl's voice whispered through the radio, "Find me." The floor trembled. Sarah spun around, and there she was, the girl, standing at the end of the aisle, her head still twisted, her arms dangling unnaturally long. She didn't move. She flickered, like a bad signal, appearing closer with each blink. Sarah bolted for the stockroom, the only place she could think to hide. The door slammed shut behind her, plunging her into near darkness, the flashlight her only lifeline. The stockroom was a tomb, crates stacked high, the air cold and damp. She heard footsteps, tiny and deliberate, circling her. The flashlight caught glimpses, pale hands reaching from behind boxes, black eyes peering through gaps. Sarah's breath hitched as she backed toward the emergency exit. The footsteps stopped. She turned, and the girl was there, inches away, her twisted neck creaking as her head righted itself. "Found you," she whispered, her voice splitting into a dozen echoes. The lights surged, and the girl lunged. Sarah screamed, swinging the flashlight. Connected with nothing, air, but the girl vanished. The stockroom door flew open, and Luis stumbled in, wild-eyed. "What the hell's going on?" he shouted, grabbing her arm. They ran for the exit, the store shaking behind them, shelves collapsing, lights exploding in showers of sparks. They burst into the parking lot, collapsing near Luis's truck. The Walmart loomed behind them, silent now, its lights steady. Sarah's hands shook as she checked her watch. 3:33 a.m. 2 hours gone, unaccounted for. Luis swore he'd searched the store top to bottom, found nothing but static on the cameras. They quit that night, drove straight to the highway, and never looked back. Weeks later, Sarah saw a post online. A grainy photo from that Walmart, dated 1992. A little girl in a white dress, standing in the toy aisle, her head twisted backward. The caption read, "Missing since the fire, still waiting." Sarah deleted her account. She doesn't shop at Walmart anymore. But sometimes, in the dead of night, she hears a giggle, and her flashlight, long since thrown away, flickers on by itself.